What is up, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of the Nuts and Bolts show. And Tony's hyped. I'm hyped. And the reason that we're so hyped is because a year ago or 2 years ago, if all those things that happened at the end of the Pittsburgh game that happened, it would not have turned out the way it did. But because we have somebody, turned out all right.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Hello, history books.
Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
You ready, Tony?
Yes.
30
yes.
of 41, 382 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 absolutely insane, one-of-a-kind interception. Even Justin Herbert throws first-ever interceptions that go 30 feet into the air and come back down. 9 carries, 90 yards rushing, and some abs because that punch just rolled right off of him from Cam Hayward. Almost 500 total yards from our quarterback against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's your thoughts, Tony? I'm pretty hyped about it because it's something that I'm not used to seeing, that kind of a takeover.
This game, like so many emotions went through my head on this game. And like we were in a private chat and you were talking shit and I'm like, this game's not over. Like You're a Chargers fan. Like, you know what happens. And then like slowly but surely, every time you would take another step into the trash talk dome, block punt, sack, fumble off of the dude's helmet, and then it goes up and it's like inside the middle of that big giant TV in the middle of the sky, falls down. It's like it was a roller coaster, but again, you said it perfectly. The difference is when you have number 10 or a player like number 10 on any of these teams, like you feel like you're going to win more of these games than you're going to lose. And it's a different feeling to have. Like if you went back and you looked at it and you're like, oh, Phillip Rivers had probably a lot of fourth quarter wins or whatever, right? The problem is that he wasn't putting his team in enough leads that were insurmountable, so those stacked up. Eventually, at some point, I think Herbert will be playing a lot of these games with leads like he was in the fourth quarter, and they won't shit the bed and make it as crazy as they did in this game.
He is a beast, Gavin, and if you're a Broncos fan, you're next, as Goldberg would say. But the reason I'm talking all that trash, I mean, I like that take about Rivers, by the way. I've never thought about it that way. That makes a lot of sense. Why that stat kind of starts to pile up on top of itself, because the Chargers are constantly playing in close games and losing a lot of those close games as well. I like to see what the numbers are for fourth quarter blown leads or just fourth quarter close game losses on Rivers as well. I'm sure he's all-time up there with some of the greats, of course, but some of the not so greats as well. But that's why I was so confident to talk that smack in that chat, Tony. I know that even if you come back from down 17 on Herbert, he's going to put that knife in your chest at the end of the game. And sure enough, especially against this defense and how banged up they were, Herbert's just like, hey, whatever you guys are going to give me, I'm just going to take it. And I'm going to take it gladly. I'm just going to keep eating and eating and eating. You come up and try and stop the run. There was like a little part in the third quarter there where I saw they were keeping linebackers close to the line of scrimmage and trusting the safeties to cover a lot of the middle of the field. So Herbert just started hitting the middle of the field, hitting the middle of the field, hitting the middle of the field. They stepped back a little bit. Herbert's like, all right, now I'm just going to start running the ball again. It's like he did not forget what was going on earlier in the game. He saw the adjustments the Steelers made at halftime to try and keep him from running the ball, attacked the weakness that was left because they're trying to keep him running the ball. And then once they went back and started to defend that, he started running the ball again. Like, that is some elite stuff right there. Herbert has the wherewithal and the talent to put games like that together. I wish Lombardi and Staley would let him off, because sometimes you can tell they leash the offense a little bit early in games and even late in games. It's usually in the fourth quarter when this happens, and they let it go. Let it go in the second quarter. I'm okay with being conservative, figuring it out, run the game script in the first quarter, but you got to let it go at a certain point when you have a guy like this. And that's what we need to do against Denver.
Yeah, I agree. And Gavin the Crazy, put your score prediction in here for Sunday's contest before we get carried away in the nuts and bolts of the nuts and bolts. But I'll say this lastly about Herbert and how the whole thing works. When I'm watching the game, and then at the end of the game, they talk about how they were kind of setting up that moment, right? They're saying like, oh yeah, they had been jumping the route, and then whatever. Like a lot of people are like, oh, why didn't they just hit Mike Evans earlier on that? It's like, no, that play had been progressing where they said, oh, we're going to get in this look. And if the DB does this thing where he tries to jump the short route on Keenan, that's going to leave Mike one-on-one with one safety or whatever to beat in that sort of, I don't even, what is that? Like the two deep safety look or whatever they had there. Now all of a sudden that guy's got to cover a big space and tackle a man who's 6'4" who can run the way that he does. Justin Herbert's ability is like not something that they necessarily need to abuse, but I will say this. We figured out how to fix the run defense, Mike, and I talked about it last week leading into the game with Pittsburgh. They need to score points as early as they can to remove as many opportunities for the other team to run. We need the clock to become their enemy in like the middle of the second quarter, where all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, it's 13-3 or 13-7. If we don't score here, like we need to be a little more aggressive in this situation. Like, and they're going to have to do the same thing to the Broncos because they have Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, and they're very capable of just putting it in their belly 35 times and winning a low-scoring game with defense. That can't be the case. It's got to be 10 to 14 points in the first quarter so that the Broncos are like, shit. And the Chargers are getting the ball at the start of the second half. If we don't score here and he gets another one, all of a sudden it's 21-3 or 21-7. That's how you stop them from being able to run the ball consistently. Has to have early points are the friend of our run defense.
Playing defense with the offense. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I just want to point out one more thing before we move on to the Broncos game, and that's what I have down here. Bosa, Allen, Herbert, Eckler. That is the core of the Chargers right there. That is the star players on our team. And in Pittsburgh, all four of these guys lit it up, took over, stepped up, and said, we are going to go and win this game. If we're missing any one of these three, who knows what happens in that game? They all took over. Bosa getting the late sack. Herbert obviously having almost 500 yards. Eckler, 4 touchdowns? Are you kidding me, Austin? Who are you, Danny Woodhead with some muscles? Keenan Allen, what was it, 5 for 112? 5 for 115? 9 for 112. I have it right here. 9 receptions for 112. That is a Keenan Allen game, as I call him. He just takes over. You can't.
He's now had like 2 or 3 of those in the last. Yeah. I don't want to discount what Derwin does either. Like I think that ultimately on that defense, what he allows so much and covers up so many mistakes. Like I'm so tired of watching him run by players to make tackles when he's coming from the other side of the field. I'm like, hey, do you see that number 33 just passed you up again? Like get off the field if you're not going to beat somebody who started 20 yards away from the play.
Or he's streaking to the other half of the field to try and help Nas Adderley break up passes because Jesus, Nas. Nas always, and this is what I always say about the guy, and it's never going to change, I don't think, unfortunately. He's always in position. He puts himself in position. He's really good in coverage, and he just gets mossed. Or he doesn't swat the ball down, and the receiver just barely catches it. Or he just misses the tackle, straight up. Done it against Njoku, done it against Freiermuth, done it against everyone this year. And it's like, Nas, you just got to make the play. You're right there. If you don't make the play, Alohi Gilman is going to take your spot in the offseason. Do you want that to happen? A fucking basically undrafted guy is going to take a second-round pick spot. Come on.
Well, I think they might actually try and move Nazir to replace Chris Harris Jr. Right? Like,
I'm down for it.
I think that's like an option. He's pretty fast, and it's not like we need him back there. If Gilman can play one way, and then you have a little bit of versatility in case of injury because he's familiar with the position.
Call me. I have a great idea. Call me.
Mike.
Why don't we, right now, this week in practice, just switch Nas and Chris Harris? Like, Chris, go play safety and have Nas play slot corner. Because Chris Harris is killing me, man. Is the Bronco fan still here? Was he killing you guys like this? He was all right last year. He wasn't amazing, but he is killing us right now. He can't cover anyone. He can't cover rookies. He can't cover Quez Watkins.
That's not a good look.
No, not for a guy that's a Pro Bowler, former All-Pro, Super Bowl champion who is getting paid more money than all of the other corners combined.
There's going to be some tough decisions this offseason, I think.
Well, his decision ain't going to be tough. He's done. He's out. His contract's expiring too. Like I think that's it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I just can't see Staley wanting to bring him back. Staley needs dominant corners. That's kind of a big part. That's why he's so good with the Rams, with Jalen Ramsey and those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he also values like the veteran leadership to some point, like locker room placement, coach, and all that. But the thing is if you're going to be counting on a player to be playing that much, those big of positions, he can't be the guy that's being picked on. Your weakest link has to still be good. And he's
like,
not.
I look at Chris Harris Jr. now at this point in the year, and I had these kind of feelings before, but I was going to give him more time because he did show moments last year. I look at him the same way I look at like a Richard Sherman if we brought him in. Like that's kind of a similar level. Yeah. Older guy, Desmond Trufant. Like these guys are just floating around the league right now, and Chris Harris is probably going to be next. Any last things about Pittsburgh? We can pull up this injury report and start talking about Denver. And speaking of corners, talk a little about ASJ too. It's kind of scary.
The last thing that I got to say about Pittsburgh is that I think that Brandon Staley is trending towards being a great coach, right? And one of the things that he's doing is like his ability in the media and post games after big wins or tough losses, the speeches, all of that other stuff. But the in-game situations can only come with experience. And I think he's getting a really nice variety of that. Because I was really thinking about this Chargers team. And, I don't know if we want to get to this or not, but
let's get to it. Let's get to it. 'Cause I'll say my opinion too.
The Chargers are experience away from being the best team in the AFC, right? Like if I really look at it, they've shown everywhere except for the special teams, really. Like, and that could be kicking or kick return or whatever, whichever way you want to do it. But they've been dominant on defense, right? And now they're starting to play at least adequate against the run over the last 3 weeks. If you really go back and look at it, they've been adequate, I'll say. Like, not good.
Hell of a lot better.
Their pass defense has been really good against some really top-notch quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, Ben's not in that category. But if you look around at the AFC, like, what separates me from choosing them over the, like a Chiefs in a playoff matchup or a team like even the Titans, they've at least been there and know what it's like to be up or down or whatever in a playoff game and fighting and coaching experience in those moments. Same thing with the Ravens and Harbaugh and whatever else. Like the only thing that the Chargers don't have is experience. That's the one thing where I look at and I'm like, they're just not ready to be a Super Bowl contender because they're still building to be everything you need to be the total package, in my estimation, to be a Super Bowl contender. But they're the best team in the AFC, like talent-wise, just like they lack the experience. Like they have playmakers at every single level that will be starters on 95% of the teams in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. And that's why every year you see us sending a bunch of guys to the Pro Bowl. It happens every year. We send 5 or 6 guys to the Pro Bowl. But yeah, I agree with that. And that's why it is so important that we win this weekend. That's why this is a great transition. I'm glad you said it, Tony. We have to win games like this to make the playoffs. We have to beat Denver. We have to beat New York. We have to beat Houston, Las Vegas again, Denver again. Like, we have to win these games against teams that are way less talented than us. And Denver is not an untalented team. Denver is probably a slightly above average team still. It's just tough right now with their schedule. They're playing a bunch of tough teams like we are. So we have to win games like this. Here's the injury report. And I think the Chargers making the playoffs this year is more important than anything else that we've accomplished so far. There's a bunch of checks and boxes. We fixed the O-line. That was a freaking mess last year. The O-line was 31st or 32nd in the league, and the only one that was worse was the one that got Joe Burrow killed. I mean, they were bad last year. And then, You talk about getting the new head coach because the play calling was so bad last year. You talk about getting Herbert out there, transitioning from Rivers to Herbert. Like, everything's being checked. We just got to get that playoff experience. So it's a good take. But here he is, the injury report. Stephen Anderson's on it. He's good to go. Full practice. Same thing with Campbell. Same thing with Michael Davis. He's dealing with a hamstring still. Did you notice anything with him? He seemed like he was completely fine. It's got to be getting close to 100% already.
With who?
Mike Davis. I was expecting maybe them to pick on him a little bit with a hamstring injury in Pittsburgh.
He looked a little slow, and I didn't see him in as many of the matchups that I would have liked to see him in.
Asante was good. He was good.
Yeah, Asante was good before he got kneed in the face.
That's such bad luck, Tony. And we're about to get to him here in a second. Matt Filer is questionable to play, but he did practice on Thursday, which is a good sign considering on Friday, which is a good sign considering he did not practice on Thursday. That's a big deal. We'd like to see him out there, but the Denver pass rush is not as scary as it's been in previous years. So I don't think it's make or break, but we'd love to see Matt Filer out there. They're just going down kind of one by one. It's kind of scary. We got Lindsley. We still got Slater out there. We like to keep Filer out there. He's been a little bit of an unsung hero of this team. He's been playing at a high level at the guard. We have one side of the line with Slater, Filer, Lindsey, where all three of those guys might make, like, at least get Pro Bowl consideration. I think Slater and Lindsley definitely make it. And then Alohi Gilman, he's going to be out. Did not practice. He's got a quad injury. I'm not sure if he played in the last game or not. Justin Jackson's full go, so he's going to be good to go. Trey Marshall's questionable to play. This would be one of the guys that helps fill in for Asante Samuel with Campbell. Kenneth Murray, he's good to go, it looks like. These guys are just on here. Asante Samuel Jr. with the concussion, which is the last one on here, and it's the one we need to actually talk about. Very scary to get this many concussions so close to each other. And really, to me, it's bad luck. It's just complete bad luck because both concussions that he got, he's making like picture perfect tackles. He's just a small dude going against a big dude. That's all it is.
Yeah, but that's kind of the problem, because it's not like he's not getting bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a grown man. Like, he might put on 15 pounds of muscle or something, but like, it's kind of maybe the reason why some of these, like Patrick Surtain Jr. players were drafted ahead of him, just based on his size. But I don't think it's going to be very, like,
the bad luck side. Sorry, the bad luck side is I don't see him having to tackle Najee Harris sized men very often. He literally did exactly what you're taught to do. Hit him right in the thigh area, try and demobilize him the best you can when he's twice your size, and he just caught the knee to the side of the head. It's so painfully bad luck to me.
It is, and I think it's just the head injuries that freak me out. You know, like, you get them this close together and you're so young. Mm-hmm. I feel like he needs to maybe be shut down for the year. Like, he got experience, but if he were to get a third one of these, like, let's say he goes up for an interception, comes down, rattles his brain again, like, you don't want 3 brain injuries. Like, like, you need your knees and you need your feet and everything else, and, like, obviously, like, hands to be healthy, but your brain, you can't be out there if you got, like, a soup splashing around inside your melon. Like, it's just not gonna fly. It's not gonna be a long career if they can't, like, get him one of those ugly helmets. Who's the player on our offensive line that has that one weird, like, soft, cushiony
Dumbo helmet?
Yeah, I think it might be Lindsley or
Lindsley wears one of those big old helmets.
Yeah, I mean, let's get him something. Let's get him extra cushion inside so that when he does hit, it's like, keep it stabilized. I don't know. I'm worried, though, and I'm scared because he's a good, young, fun player that I think was kind of a steal of the early rounds of the draft.
Yeah, so far he looked like a steal. He looked like a guy that could step up and be a potential CB1 of a team.
Well, when you look at a team like the Cowboys, they wanted a DB there. Mm-hmm. They could have gotten Micah Parsons and then come back, I believe, and gotten Asante Samuel. Yeah. I don't remember the exact draft order, but they could have at least, like, they could have gotten the best of both worlds, because Micah Parsons already looks like a freak of nature, you know, like
the same pick. Yeah, I have a TikTok coming out just about Micah Parsons and how anyone who doubted him. And I don't even remember how I felt about him. I just felt kind of like, yeah, he's gonna be a good linebacker. I didn't really have a take on him, but that dude's legit. That dude is legit.
He's smarter than I gave him credit for,
think
right?
so,
Like
yeah.
he's picking up everything. Excuse me. He's picking up everything way faster than I thought he would. Wherever they're asking him to go, he's not a weakness. And they're like, hey, we need you at edge rusher. Oh, we need you to be the spy. We need you to do that. He's like, okay. And I think he does a lot of it just on like athletic ability, guile, just everything that you need from a football player. Cowboys got a real nice pick there.
Yeah, and you know who should be used like Micah Parsons? Jamal
Yeah.
Adams. They should use Jamal Adams like they do Micah
Oh, I
Parsons.
thought you were going to say Kenneth Murray should start.
Him
playing.
too. Him too, 100%. Maybe move him specifically to edge rusher. He may be smart to make a transition in the offseason. Anyways, here is the Broncos injury report. Overall, Asante Samuel's out for now with not much news on any kind of return. I like the take of possibly letting him sit out for the rest of the year. And if we go to the playoffs, then maybe think about it, but
Sure.
it's scary. But yeah, here's the Broncos injury report. Mike Boone, I think he's like their fullback / running back. He's questionable, but he practiced in full on Friday, so he's probably playing, which is a big deal because he's going to be there for their I formations. I'd like to not have him out there. Maybe they get less I formations because we don't do very good against I formation. Tyree Cleveland, wide receiver, never heard of before, so not really a big a deal. He's questionable. Shelby Harris, this is a big deal. Eckler has been tearing it up lately. He's questionable to play. Did not practice. Tried to practice on Thursday. Did not practice on Friday. Kareem Jackson is doubtful. That's a big deal. That dude's a freaking machine. He just throws his body at people. He doesn't even care. He has no regard for his own or other people's lives. Bobby Massey is doubtful. He's their tackle. And then these guys are all full practices. Both the D lineman, Purcell, who I think is just a depth guy, and Caden Stearns, who's a depth safety for them behind Justin Simmons. So not too many big names. I think the biggest one is Kareem Jackson. That helps out a ton in them not being able to tackle Austin Eckler in space.
Yeah, Kareem Jackson is a very underrated football player. Like since the moment he came into the league, he doesn't get enough press. I think the Mike Boone situation is interesting because he's actually, I think he was signed to get more carries before they got Melvin Gordon, maybe because he was the running back, or maybe before they drafted Williams. He was the running back in Minnesota who, like, every time that somebody would get hurt, he'd get like 90 yards, on like 10 carry. Like he could work. So
big dude. He's a bit bulky dude,
yeah.
Power back. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's got a little special teams too, which is like, we could use any sort of bump we could get in that department. Andre Roberts looks so frustrated, Mike. If you watch him, he's like, why aren't you blocking? Like, what is happening? Why am I getting smashed before the ball even lands? He's like, none of you guys can hold blocks. And then I catch the ball and you just say, Andre Robert looks so pissed off playing for the Chargers.
And Adley's probably like, welcome to my damn world, bro. I've been dealing with this for a couple of years now.
Yeah. He's like, I played for the Raiders and I had more fun than this. Like this is bad. He looks so mad and I feel bad for him because he actually is like a good special teamer. I don't know why Buffalo let him go or what, because I think he was on another team before that, Carolina or somebody. Like he just bounced around the league. But he's a good football player. Mm-hmm. He's pissed every time they punt the ball to him, and he's just getting wrecked.
Yeah, and there's been a few times where he's not fair caught because I think he's just so eager to get a return. Yeah. He just wants to get on the move. You see in the kick return department, he's made people miss and has gotten it out to the 25 almost every time he's decided to return it, which we were getting stopped at the 15 before. Oh, freaking frustrating.
What's his name? Hill was like returning kicks like he was a Sunday jog or something. I'm like, bro, you're in a football game. What are you doing? Get going. In his defense, I would not be running full steam ahead with all 11 of those guys coming at me
full steam ahead as well. Yeah, it's scary. It is a little scary, but that's what you're getting paid to do, KJ.
How about Hopkins in that Steeler game having to make fucking tackles on kickoffs? I was pissed. I texted you about that. I was like, what is happening that our kicker is making 2 tackles at like the 40-yard line? on these plays.
Also, like, you do not want him making tackles because when you talk about Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Bosa, Derwin James, all these guys, right? But at a certain point, right where we get into a point where we're talking about depth guys, Dustin Hopkins is one of our most important players right now.
I actually put him right behind, like, probably Mike Williams. Like, if I was going in offensive ranking and in defensive ranking, I'm going, like, real close to, like, right after probably, like, the Campbell kid's really starting to grow on me. What is it, Trayvon?
Trayvon Campbell. Yeah, I've gotten some comments from people like, we need to get rid of Trayvon Campbell. He's been struggling. He couldn't cover Justin Jefferson. Like, no shit, he couldn't cover Justin Jefferson. Who can cover Justin Jefferson? Jalen Ramsey? Yeah. That's it. It's the coach's fault for not putting him in the position where he's playing zone on Justin Jefferson more often than man. That's where we messed up.
I like him just because he competes. And when he makes a mistake, he just gets up and just runs back to he doesn't complain. He's my kind of football player where it's like, oh, this guy with experience and like becoming a veteran in the reps, he's going to be a really good football player. Like, I don't want a guy on my team where every time he gets smoked, he looks up and he's like, where's the flag? What's he pushing? It's like, no. Yeah. Like, you guys are both hand fighting and you got beat by a better player. Now, get into the lab and become a better player. Like athleticism or film study.
Like Deshaun Jackson at receiver last night. There were a lot of penalties and the Cowboys were committing the penalties. I'm not trying to say they weren't, but every play, whether he got the ball thrown to him, whether it was he was thrown, he wanted his flags on run plays out there at the wide receiver. I was like, Jesus, man.
I know. He's
like,
already
gotten 15 of them. Why do you want another one?
Like this. I'm like, you're not even in the play. You can't even watch it. You can't even see anything. For a second, I thought he was just doing one. Stand alive. What is wrong? Deshaun Jackson, he cooked them, though, yesterday.
So happy for him. Happy that the Raiders beat the Cowboys. And now I got to hear shit, not for a week, for a week and a half. Basically, until the middle of December, I got to hear the Raiders fans talking about Deshaun Jackson now and how he's going to come back to his own. But really, the Cowboys just stunk it up. And put Anthony Brown on him all night. Jesus.
And the Cowboys fans are losing their mind on Twitter about Anthony Brown.
Yeah, it's not a good team to be on and put up a really bad game on Thanksgiving.
No, it is not.
Anyways, back to the Chargers. As far as the Broncos and everything goes, who do you worry about most here? What do you think are the X factors and keys in this one?
So here's what I'm worried about. Courtland Sutton has been awfully quiet. Gets a big contract. Like, I feel like there's going to be a real attempt to say, like, hey, Asante Samuel Jr. is out. They can't cover all of these players. Like, when you said that they aren't I think the Broncos are an extremely talented team, defensively and offensively. The problem is that Teddy Bridgewater is only so good, right? Like, this Broncos team, you need a quarterback that kind of bumps you up over the edge, or you need to be like A+ level at something. The Browns run game offensive line. Mm-hmm. The Broncos aren't A+ level at anything, but they're like a solid B+, like receiver, tight end position, pass rush, defensive back. They're like solid B+. You need that quarterback to put you over the top. They don't have that. I feel like Courtland Sutton has just been too quiet. He got a big payday. Is Michael Davis playing this game? Like I said, does Campbell step up and say, oh, yeah, I got beat by Justin Jefferson? But there's a difference between the chemistry that Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson have and Bridgewater and Sutton in this game. And as far as like on the Chargers side of the football, I need to see a repeat performance from Mike Williams. Like last week at the end of the show or one of the shows we did, I'm like, Mike Williams scores a touchdown today. And you're like, Tony, you just say it every week until it's right. It's like,
it happened.
Why not? Like
it happened exactly how I think we expected to happen too.
Put it into the universe. I put him on my bench in fantasy this week in favor of Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. Ooh.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Darnell Mooney had a great game. Yeah, I put a post out that said, I'm thankful for a bunch of people, my whole family, everyone, but also Darnell Mooney, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox.
All the people on my fantasy team that were
all those
cooking.
guys that did good on Thanksgiving. All my guys played good. I actually made a mistake and left Komet and Santos in with Monty in a lineup that I had to just go with last week because of bye weeks and injuries that I did not need to go with this week. I just forgot to switch it. And like when I looked at it before the game, I was so pissed. And I looked at it after. I didn't look at it the entire game, so I just did not want to deal with it. I looked at it after and I was like, oh, wasn't too bad. Bears.
Well, Komet season started. I predict that was just a week early, but he got all the targets and the yards.
Points still, Tony. He didn't score no 30 points.
He scored I think he had 18 fantasy points yesterday.
Solid. That's solid. But you were calling for a 30 burger. You were calling for 27 and a half.
27 and a half. We got to get the touchdowns in. Come on, Andy Dalton. That's like 27 and a half with Andy. You got to put the curve on there. You got to grade on a curve. Justin Fields is in there. He scores a couple touchdowns.
Oh, what's the
Felke is bitter.
What's the matter?
Felke reached out on Twitter to speak to Joe Morley like he's commenting on all Joe's videos. He is bitter. Cowboys fan.
I'm with you, Felke. I was pretty salty, especially at the end of the game when the refs didn't call holding on the Raiders because it should have been rigged for the Cowboys to win on Thanksgiving. That's where I was really mad. I was like, where's the flag? Throwing flags all game. Now when the Raiders are about to get into field goal range, you don't want to give that one holding that ruins their whole drive. Come on.
I'm going to say this too. I was really shocked how much they over-refereed that game against the Cowboys.
Exactly.
Because if you went back and looked at how both of the games were played side by side, the Chargers-Cowboys game and the Raiders, there were much more egregious things that I thought the Cowboys were doing to the receivers. And maybe it's because the receiver that they were doing it against, like the Mike Williams or the bigger Jared Cook or whatever, like these were bigger bodied players or whatever. They were allowed to play aggressive defense. And I actually think the Cowboys defense is pretty good. Yeah. They were just getting hosed. Like there was a couple of those calls on Anthony Brown where I was like, this isn't that bad. Like this isn't pass interference, but they were big plays for them. I just like it because
no, I don't like you guys at all. You guys be rooting for the Cowboys over the Raiders, be rooting for the Chiefs over the Cowboys, was it? Like I've got clips, by the way. Do the Raiders play the Chiefs this week or next week?
Oh, I don't know.
Did I show you the clip I have? I have a clip of Joe Morley saying, "Go Chiefs," and then it's a bunch of highlights of the Chiefs beating the Raiders. But I'm saving it for the week that they play each other.
I'm over Cowboy fans, and I'm over all of the Dak better than Herbert, which you also got in on. I don't like it at all. I'm not a fan of it.
I'm still in on it. I just want to see it through this year, and then I'll be ready to go ahead and I need to be able to fight people with my arguments.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have enough ammunition yet, but we're getting there. We're close.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
That's a fight. Once someone jumps Dak, anyone, that's going to be a fight.
Yes. Yeah, and I get what you're saying, but I guess I'm building my house on credit is what I'm saying. I'm not saving I'm already there saying I borrowed money from the bank to build this house next to you that's bigger and better and stronger. Freaking Dak Prescott had to fight to get a contract. Like the Cowboys weren't even sure about him. And now all of a sudden he gets paid and he's just the greatest thing ever. And he's not winning games against good teams. And then I'm supposed to sit there and be like, he's way better than everybody else. I like Dak, but people make me not hate them. They make me say things that make me sound like I hate a player.
They go too far.
Yeah.
Dak's not top 5. He's right there around the top 10 area. That's it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's still very, very good.
I don't have Herbert in the top 5 if I broke it down.
Exactly.
I'm not a hater on him.
Exactly. And in both of our opinions, I think, we're a Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers retirement away from Herbert and probably like a year away from Herbert being in the top 3 probably. What do you think?
Yeah.
Mahomes, Herbert, Kyler or something, whatever it's going to be, how the other guys develop. I don't know what to think about Josh Allen anymore. Stop comparing Herbert to Josh Allen. I'm tired of that shit. This is going the wrong direction.
We've always thought that Josh Allen is much more Big Ben with like
A little bit more
rushing
wheel.
ability.
Yeah, a little more.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I don't like it.
We're in the
Gus
QB.
Herbert's.
We're in the QB.
I'll
Yeah.
borrow some credit for that one. He's better than Josh Allen. I have no doubt in my mind. He's more accurate. Everybody talks about Josh Allen's arm strength. Congratulations. Throw the ball 90 yards. Jamarcus Russell could throw it 80 from his knees. He's working at a cell phone kiosk in the Oakland area right now.
I'm pretty sure that Herbert could throw it 70 yards with his left hand. That's why I saw
We don't-
I saw an underthrown clip. Tua threw that touchdown pass to Gesicki, I think it was, or maybe it was one of the other tight ends. They all look exactly the same. But he threw it like 45 yards down the field, underthrew it, and the guy caught it and then walked into the end zone. But he had to like turn around, stop, catch the ball, and go to the end zone like a punt return. And everyone's posting like, I thought Tua couldn't throw deep. I'm like, Herbert can throw that to the back of the end zone and make the receiver toe tap if he wants to, wide open down there.
Herbert, we don't know what Herbert can do because thankfully, and why I love him more and more, he doesn't tell any of us any of this dumb shit.
That's true. He doesn't. There's no videos of him going out the stadium. None of that.
I don't think he wastes time getting on his knees and practice throwing footballs.
Yeah,
it doesn't make him a better football player to hit spinning plates out of the air. You know, like it's not what he's into.
Did you see the McAfee interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, they introed him, and he was like, I feel like he did too much with the intro. And McAfee said, get that motherfucker off the screen. I'm going to go harder this time. And he said, what do you think about that one? He's like, it was great. I don't want to do it again. Gotta love Herbert. The perfect quarterback to live in LA. The guy does not give a shit about living in LA. But anyways, let's do score predictions. I agree with the Cortland Sutton take. He always plays us hard. He always has 120 and 2 tubs against us. So it's going to be a big deal. I think Michael Davis and Tavon Campbell are both built for him because Michael Davis is faster than him, same size. Tavon Campbell's faster than him, the same size. Like, double team that. Work together on that. Switch out whoever needs to be fresh legs because that's the key. I'm scared of Judy. Judy's probably going to make plays, but he's not on that level where he just takes over games anymore like he was at the beginning of the year, in my opinion. I don't think that he's quite there. He still has more development than I realized to go.
He has a lot. The ankle injury hurt him. He only played half a quarter, and then he was out 7 weeks or whatever, right? So technically he's still a rookie, you know, like game-wise, like 18, 19 games under his belt. I am worried about them realizing, like, oh, hey, we can get 8-9 yards. He's going to win every route. I don't think without Asante Samuel Jr., the threat of jumping one of these routes.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be like, oh, he's going to beat any of their corner. Like if you put Judy on Chris Harris Jr., Judy's going for 150 on like 10 catches. Like it will be a nightmare if he lines up in the slot on Jerry Judy.
I'm telling you, the only motherfuckers that Chris Harris Jr. could guard are like Des Bryant right now. That's the only guy in the planet that he could guard. He might get mossed. He might get mossed in that situation.
I was just gonna say, I don't know. Dez can compete. Like
Broncos want to bring back Ocho or Terrell Owens, like throw them out there. Maybe Chris Harris stands a small chance.
No, they would work him too. Steve Smith, all these guys that have had it hung up, let them stretch out their hamstrings.
In suits and microphones every Sunday nowadays, and they all could beat him.
Yeah, maybe Joe Thomas.
There you go.
Like if we're going like maybe Michael Irvin. He's in his 50s now.
Can I get a little older?
Yeah.
Let's try those guys out.
Yeah, these guys who are still trying to knock on the door of the Hall of Fame or whatever, like they'll still bring that smoke he can't handle.
It'll be a good game. I got a score prediction. I think this is what's going to happen. I think it's going to be not necessarily the shootout that we saw. I'm really interested to see how they deal with Herbert if he runs the ball like he did against Pittsburgh. How the Denver Broncos deal with that. That completely changed the offense. They could put up 40 points every week if Herbert runs for 50 yards. Because how do you stop it at that point? We're just going to be moving the chains on 3rd and 5 every single time. Because if you come up to stop him, he does it over your head. If you drop back, he runs. So maybe we can get some more there. It's all about gap discipline with the D line and everything too. But I'll see. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be the Chargers are down 24-21. The defense forces them to kick a field goal. So it goes 27-21. Herbert clutches us down the field for the game-winning 28-27 touchdown score prediction in Denver. Chargers come away with a sneaky victory, and everyone still doubts us, which I want them to.
I like it a lot. I am going with a bigger victory. I went back and I rewatched the highlights of last year's 31-30 loss, which is like so painful.
Yeah. You just are
So-
screaming. You're just screaming. You're screaming at the TV.
Yes. I think they can get another big lead early in this one. I think they can come out and just sort of like get 7-3 on the first drive or whatever, make it interesting. I'm going to go with 33-26, but not really close. Like the Broncos kind of like get a garbage time touchdown, in the prevent style of defense in the fourth quarter or whatever. I'm really looking for the Chargers to assert themselves as like the hype machine, like let's get in here. Everybody's talking about us. They bring Brandon Staley on Good Morning Football and all these shows, and he does these, like, it's right there. They have more talent at the necessary position at quarterback. I need Herbert to be that guy.
Yeah, and in my opinion, this is a very, 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 very important win to a point where I will call it must win when you look at what's going on with the rest of the wild card picture and the AFC West. One, we're trying to keep up with the Chiefs. We'll be first again if we win via the tiebreaker. 2, the AFC North's playing each other this weekend. So Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Steelers. 2 of those teams are losing. Let's hope the Ravens win because all those other teams are in the wild card race. And then also 3, the Raiders won on Thursday. If we win this one, that just gives them even less chance of sneaking back into the wild card picture. And also, we'll be tied with the Broncos if we lose the game. So this is just a bunch of things are on the line here. And if the Chargers just take care of business and win and are 7-4 on the other side of this, chances go way up of locking us in that playoffs. So I really want to win this game. Big game. Last words, Tony, before we get out of here. We talked a little extra today. A little extra 10 minutes.
I'm all with you except for I need the Browns to beat the Ravens.
No, we don't want the Browns to beat the Ravens, Tony. You got to take your little like personal things away and root for the Chargers across the board. Chiefs never want them to win unless they're playing the Raiders. Raiders never want them to win. And there's no unless there. There isn't. That's it. Broncos never want them to win. No unless. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?